follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, along with Paulie Howard. We are live today, as always, on YouTube TV, Sirius XM Channel 158. You can listen to some of our great affiliates across the country as well on a daily basis. Big program lined up over the next 3 hours, including Thomas Gable from the Borgata back in Atlantic City coming up in 30 minutes. I cannot imagine how much money changed hands if you think about where he's located, right next to Philadelphia, with the ending in that Rams-Eagles game on Sunday.
I can't wait to ask Derek about it. That is the ultimate, I wish I was in a sports book moment of that finish.
Yep.
And all the people that were on the Rams are in a sick beat. It was absolute bedlam.
And they get pounded there like every week, every year on the Eagles. So you can imagine what that was like. We'll talk to him in 30 minutes. By the way, watching Monday Night Football last night, Paulie, when you run down win-lose in 45 minutes, I have a comp. I think I isolated, actually, other people I was with watching the game last night. They kicked this around. I think they have identified the one true NFL game that can comp. It would be a good comp to this. I'll tell you that coming up in 45 minutes.
Looking forward to it. It's not throwing the ball backwards, lateral, and the team scoops it up and scores, which has happened 20 times at least. I've lost 5 of them alone like that.
Yeah.
Because that was happening every week, college and pro for a stretch, when we used to do the show from the South Point. It was happening on a regular basis, especially in prime time games.
And then you would lose like the final leg of a parlay on the yes-no defensive special teams touchdown.
I know. I couldn't believe it. It cost me a 7-teamer one time. Oh. I'm like, it was that Eagle-Washington game, Kansas City-Washington. It happened in Bedlam one year. I mean, it was happening every frickin' week.
I'll give you a hint, by the way. When I tell you this horrific beat, it was in the Super Bowl. It was in the Super Bowl. And from what I understand, the most successful sports bettor of all time was on that game.
I thought you were going to go Gary Anderson.
Missing the kick?
No. 2000 NFC title game. Bet his props under.
Oh.
But the Vikings got shut out, and he didn't kick off, so he never got on the field. So it's no action. It's no action. He didn't get on the field. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, that's a good one.
Also, Paul Stone on the program, college football, and Ryder Cup. He loves betting golf. Ryder Cup is this week. We'll ask him how he bet at this point, and then Derek's going to come up as well. Well, I mean, everything I said about the Ravens yesterday on the show and on primetime, the exact opposite happened. And Glenn Clark, who came on the program yesterday, who covers the Ravens of Baltimore, had a great point. And he said, over everything, because the Ravens will absolutely miss the players defensively who are not in the game last night. And my God, did they ever. Mm-hmm. Detroit did whatever they wanted. And nothing fluky about that last night for 2 straight weeks with this Detroit offense. And the fact that they went on those long drives, held their first 4 touchdown drives, as I tweeted out during the game, I'm like, 60-plus yards. 2 of them were 95-plus yards against the Ravens in prime time on the road against Baltimore. And also, like, the way it was really working again last night with getting guys wide open across the middle of the field, the 1-2 combination there with Gibbs and Montgomery, and that play that they had after a timeout on 4th and goal where they gave it to Amon-Ra St. Brown in the backfield, and then he pitches it to Gibbs. Ben Johnson, who? They're okay.
Yep.
They don't need Ben Johnson.
Yep.
So there you go. That team has been ridiculous now for 2 straight weeks, and here's what I would love to see. I want to see the Lions play at Lambeau this week, the game that we got in week 1 already. I'm saying that because that was their preseason game.
Well, or Green Bay's just ridiculous defensively.
I think, sure, that's possible.
Henry can't explain what he's doing. The fumble in every game. I couldn't believe the 1st and goal from the 3 and what transpired.
Disgusting.
Henry, no gain. Henry, 2 yards, and then the sack fumble on 4th down. But the Lions, for the 2nd week in a row, played a perfect game. They mentioned on the broadcast that the last time the Ravens gave up a 95-yard-plus drive, and the Lions were able to do it twice, to gash them on the ground like that. But they don't turn it over. They don't allow a sack. They were great on 4th down, and then the Ravens have the big fumble, allow 7 sacks, and missed a ton of tackles. So you got to be concerned about the defense. But the other thing is this is a frustrating team with all the talent, and they should be the best team in the league on paper, and it doesn't doesn't carry over to the playoffs, and maybe they lose 5-6 games this year, which I can't believe. It's it's blowing week one, and then what happened here, you got to get this fixed defensively. You can't give up that many points.
No, and they'll get better when they get guys back, obviously, that were banged up and not in the game last night. I'm also way concerned about the Derrick Henry fumbling problem now.
Yeah.
You got to be.
Yeah.
And so you hinted at it there. What do you make of Harbaugh overall as a head coach? I mean, the big game stuff that you talked about it was right after they lost the game against Buffalo. They gave the game away. You're like, I can't trust this guy.
And the double-digit leads.
Sure.
Blowing those all the time. Yeah. He's a good coach, but he makes some bizarre decisions. And I know when you're going to gamble and play the analytics game, some are going to work, some aren't.
Right.
But it's just, I think he's had a bad run of luck with the turnovers, but for whatever reason, they beat themselves in January every single year, with the exception of when everyone got Flacco fever, and that team wasn't that good.
Right.
But he turned into Joe Montana for a month.
So then, Paul, think about this. The 1-2 Ravens are about a 3-point favorite on the road at the 1-2 Chiefs this week. By the way, that could be 2-1 versus 0-3. Regardless, here we are. Have you seen? So that's a losable game for Baltimore. They could be 1-3. Yeah. The loser is going to be 1-3. Yeah. Have you looked at division prices today?
I looked. Yeah, it's not even close on paper. I mean, Baltimore should win this game comfortably, but that's why they play the games.
Yeah, and Baltimore here at Circa, they're minus 370 to win their division.
Oh God!
And they could go 1-3, but that tells you what the books think of. Well, what Circa thinks of the competition in the AFC North.
Yeah. Well, this happened last year too. They were bad defensively, and they fixed it, and they were awesome. And then, you know what happened? They beat themselves, and it also doesn't make any sense. Andrews is sure-handed, and he's great last night.
Yep.
But when you need him, he fumbles and he drops a gimme. They choke. That's just the best way to say it. They beat themselves, and weird stuff happens in January. But now they're still going to make the playoffs. But home field's a big deal, and that's why the Bills are gunning for it. The Bills are talking about it. They got to get the 1 seed. They might have to hold off the Chargers too. But the Ravens are really behind the 8 ball here, where they're going to have to go win probably two big games on the road in January, and I don't like their chances. Not to mention, we haven't even brought up Lamar, which I love Lamar, but he's another one.
Yeah.
Would you count on this guy? Can you trust him to win a big game in January? Because weird stuff happens to him too.
Here's the crazy part about that division number, by the way. So it was either late August / early September. I'm looking at the Ravens, like at several different sports books. And I think Circa had the lowest number on Baltimore at the time at like minus 149 to win the division. And now fast forward to today, and they have 2 losses. Could be a third one coming up. And yet that number has moved more than $2. They're just basically telling you, I don't care if they lose to KC because we've adjusted like our priors on the other teams here. Like, they're clearly not buying the Steelers, and I don't think anybody should at this point. The Joe Burrow injury is massive, and then the Browns, obviously, they should be 0-3, never should have defeated the Packers, but now they get the Lions. By the way, what does that look like now for the Lions offense to play the back-to-back defenses that they have played in Chicago, eviscerated them, did the same thing to Baltimore last night, and now they get a Browns defense that would be the comp to Green Bay that they faced in week 1.
Right. This will be a good test. I want to see what happens through the air. I can't imagine they get anything on the ground. But I was shocked by the ease and just the missed tackles and how easy it was for Detroit to move it on them on the ground, and what Montgomery did. But
way too easy.
But this is, if they're going to play perfect and look like that in the old Lions, the defense is healthy. The defense was all over the place, wreaking havoc. You're right about. I'd love to see the matchup coming up against Green Bay again, because they couldn't get a first down in that game.
No, couldn't move the ball. No,
it was ridiculous. But you got to give the Eagles their flowers too. I mean, I saw something incredible today on Twitter that when they've had Barkley, Smith, Brown, and Hurts, they're 18-0. So they won a Super Bowl before they even lost a game when they're healthy and everyone plays. And I know that doesn't look good, but they've won 19 of the last 20 games. So that was the NFC title game we should have got last year. But I can say the same thing about the Lions. They've had bad luck. They had the 49ers beat 2 years ago. They blew that, and they blew the Washington game. Goff kept turning the ball over, and they couldn't get stops. I can't kill them because they had 20 guys hurt. But
that's right. I mean, they had name tags at practice because they didn't know who they were bringing guys in like every single week down the stretch. Look, I mean, that was my team last year. I didn't want to be on them this year because their schedule, first of all, is impossible. It's the most grueling road schedule ever. That's one of the reasons why you bet the under.
I mean, look at this. They just showed it. I mean, look at what is coming up for Detroit. Look how tough this schedule is.
Well, the Bengals game looks a lot easier now.
Yeah, it does. But you go at Washington, at Philly, Packers on Thanksgiving, at the Rams, at the Vikings. I mean, there's just a tough game. You're right. The Chief game suddenly isn't that difficult either. But it's all these teams you're playing on the road that were in the playoffs and made deep runs last year.
Sure. And I hate being a year early. But, there is a pretty decent chance that my bets on Detroit last year to win the NFC and to win the Super Bowl, if they, again, I said this today on the Pod to the Futures podcast that we do with JVT every single Tuesday. Like, I can say it, I can't prove it. I think Detroit was going to win the Super Bowl last year if they stayed healthy. They were going to host Philadelphia. Now, they could lose that game, of course, but they lost everybody on defense. And if they somehow get some injury luck this year, and again, I've seen enough in the last 2 weeks. They're totally fine on off. The Ben Johnson thing is a non-story to me now. That was such an awesome display of football last night again. Mm-hmm. Back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
That's like A+ game for 8 quarters now. That's not easy to do at the NFL level.
No, you're right. Been perfection for 2 weeks. Incredible job.
But as you said, I want to see what this looks like against the Browns defense now coming up on Sunday. Totally different story than the last 2 teams that they've played. We will hit tonight's Major League Baseball card coming up next. Say what you want about the expanded playoffs, but the wild card races are phenomenal. We'll run down the numbers for you coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We have some pretty major breaking news in college football as On3 Sports has the report that Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer has suffered a thumb injury on his throwing hand, and he could miss 3 or more weeks. He was the short shot to win the Heisman Trophy.
DraftKings moved him to 20-1. Mendoza's the favorite.
Wow.
Moore's 9, Stockton's 12, along with Beck, Aguilar, and Reed 14. Jeremiah Smith 14. Oh, man.
Okay, well, this is good timing here because Thomas Gable joins the program. He's on the Progressive guest line. He is in charge of the Borgata Racing Sportsbook back in Atlantic City. Thomas, thanks for the time. Good to talk to you as always. We will get into the Eagles-Ram finish on Sunday coming up here in a minute, but when you hear that news, and you guys, obviously, you have people working in the risk room there, how do you guys adjust this with Oklahoma? What do you think of this Mateer injury news for the Sooners?
Well, being out 3 to 4 weeks, I mean, not only does impact the Heisman, but clearly is going to impact how you look at Oklahoma here in the next few weeks, and you're going to have to adjust them and their power rating. So it's a shame. It really is a shame. I mean, the kid, as you said, was the favorite and having a heck of a year, and you hope that it's shorter than that for him, but when it's a thumb injury on the throwing hand, never a good thing.
No, never good. And I know plenty of people who either before the season or in the first couple of weeks, they were adding Oklahoma on a ton of bets, right? I mean, they were adding them to win the SEC, they were a nice plus number, I think, before the season to make the playoffs and even beyond to win the whole thing. So this changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, they've been a good story, and it's a shame because, they're right there, and you're just going to have to drop them back a little bit here now in the power ratings, and just hope that the kid can get back soon, and it's not too serious.
Let me ask you this: Did you take many bets at all on Fernando Mendoza, Indiana quarterback, to win the Heisman? I know he was 35-1 before the Illinois game this past week.
Not really. There wasn't much action on him at all, so we're in very good shape with him, and obviously after that game. He's and now with this Mateer injury, he's going to be in the spotlight moving forward. Yeah.
Who would you lose to as of right now?
I'm sorry.
Who would you lose to in the Heisman market as of right now, if anybody?
Honestly, we're in. There's some longer shots on the board that we have liability on, but there's really nobody that I foresee that we have liability on that we're going to be in trouble with. We're in good shape on that market overall.
Very good.
Yeah, well, condolences to what happened Sunday, but I think that was a top 5. I wish I was in a sports book moment. I think it was the worst beat I've seen in the NFL, maybe ever. I just, to be up 19 in the third quarter, you have 2 field goals blocked. You can't convert 3rd and 1 3 times. You get a 3rd and 10 conversion backed up. The Eagles score on 4th and goal as well. And then the impossible happens with Davis returning the blocked field goal and the Eagles cover. Take us through the swing of emotions and the handle and how much money changed hands with that decision.
Well, when I'll say this, the Rams-Eagles game was not the one that I personally was watching that intently. Obviously, it was on the main screen in the book here. We had the audio on for that game. I was more interested in the Commanders-Raiders game because that was our biggest decision of the early slate. We had a guy who put $200,000 on the Raiders first half, $200,000 on them for the game. So while I was kind of keeping tabs on all the games, the Commanders-Raiders is where most of my attention was at. And what I saw the first half and the way that the Eagles looked, I was a little surprised at how flat the offense was. And obviously after halftime, everybody kind of woke up with Jalen Hurts having a real nice second half. A.J. Brown coming off the back of a milk carton finally. Devontae Smith had some catches. And the Eagles offense finally looked formidable again. But, again, I never really assumed that the plus 3.5 would be in doubt with the Rams. So, once the Commanders pretty much had that game sealed, I walked back over into the sports book to watch a lot of these games come to a conclusion. And I'll say this for the ending of that Eagles game. That was probably the loudest I've heard the book possibly ever. It was probably 90% Eagles fans, Eagles backers, etc. And if you think about it, this was different than the Super Bowl, different than the NFC Championship. Those games were decided well in advance of the final gun. You knew the Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl throughout. This game, if you sat there and watched it as an Eagles backer, you thought you were dead and buried at halftime. The second half comes around and you start to see some glimmer of hope. Again, maybe to squeak out a win, but if you have them on the spread, it's not looking good that you're going to be able to cover 3.5. And then the Rams drive down the field and set themselves up for a more than makeable field goal to win the game. And you're also thinking at that point, your ticket is dead, including if you're on the money line in Philly, that's going to be done. And the roar when that kick was blocked and then the improbable happening with Davis running that back for a touchdown to not only seal the victory, but to cover the 3.5, which looked absolutely impossible. I mean, it was louder than the Super Bowl or NFC Championship just because it was unexpected and it was a raw emotional outburst. But I mean, listen, you had so many things happening right around that same time with the Jets doing the same thing, blocking a field goal attempt and running it back for a touchdown, albeit not being able to hang on to win the game there with Tampa. And then, of course, the conclusion of the Packers-Browns games. It was just an unbelievable end to the 1 p.m. slate of games on Sunday. And ultimately, what makes this league so popular, it just makes you laugh at times because you sit back and you repeat that phrase that you often hear in this business. People actually bet money on this stuff. Yeah. And, it's crazy. But, in terms of the financial implications for us, we ended up a small winner on that game. And certainly there was a big swing, though, between what ended up happening and what I thought was going to happen there. Had the Rams just covered the 3.5, it certainly would have been a much better result for us. Had they won that game outright and made that field goal at the end, it would have been fantastic. But we ended up with a small win. And it really, I think, for us here in this location, having that hook on the 3 pretty much all week helped tremendously because, the Rams were taking some money here. They weren't being ignored. Getting the 3.5, there certainly were people who were taking the 3.5 there with Los Angeles. So in the end, it wasn't, catastrophic for us, but certainly we left a lot of money on the table there with the way that ended.
Well, can you explain with your location, obviously, and so close to Philadelphia and how popular the Eagles are? I know, by the way, they've been good now for a long, long time. like the right that you see on a typical Sunday for an Eagles game compared to like every other game? Usually, I know you're probably not going to have a guy bet $200,000 on a half in a game like every single week on some of the stuff. I could be wrong on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're certainly going to be taking some six-figure bets on other games.
Sure.
But just in terms of the volume, the number of tickets that come in, and the volume obviously adds up on these Eagles games. And as you mentioned, they've been good now for several seasons here. So whatever time they're playing, if it's 1 o'clock or 4:30, or if it's a standalone night game, I mean, they're just those games you're going to write more on than any others for the most part. Again, unless you're taking some bigger action on other games with six-figure bets, but and also we have to realize and manage that liability in the futures market, not just with the Eagles, but it's really with any Philadelphia or New York team in this market. You're going to have liability that builds up throughout the course of a season. And, right now when you look at the Super Bowl, the Eagles, we are a small loser to the Eagles for the Super Bowl, but it's really the NFC Championship that we have a much, much higher liability on Philadelphia with. And it certainly didn't help. We took a $100,000 bet on the Eagles to win the NFC back before the season started. So that obviously has moved that liability forward quite a bit, taking that risk on. But the Super Bowl, for the Super Bowl market, the Eagles aren't like worst case scenario for us. It's we actually have more liability right now on, say, the Commanders, and you're always dealing with that liability with the Philadelphia teams.
Well, thanks for popping on today and giving us your perspective from that area, Thomas. We appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, no problem at all, and thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, have a good week.
job.
There you go. Thomas Gable, Race and Sportsbook Director over at the Borgata in Atlantic City. And so there you go. On the Eagles-Rams front, the Mateer news.
Oh, God.
Who do you want to grab in the Heisman mix?
Ask me Monday. It's a big game for Moore in Oregon.
Well, what if Oregon go there and they win?
Or they're high scoring and lose a close one, and then they go 11-1.
And he's awesome.
I know.
He was 16-1 at one book earlier today. Still.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I
don't want Nussmeier.
No,
that
no
offense
way.
is broken. I don't know why LSU's in the top 5. How's the Clemson win look now?
Exactly right.
They needed 5 interceptions to beat Florida?
Yep. All right, Paul's going to run down all the big bets that came in last night, win some, lose some, and I have the NFL beat that was just as nasty as the Rams on Sunday, and it happened in a Super Bowl.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome in. Coming up in 15 minutes, pro bettor Paul Stone on the show. Some of his best bets with analysis in college football for the weekend and how he would approach betting the Ryder Cup. I know he was betting this a lot, like in the summertime. When books were posting this, he's like, yeah, I like this number quite a bit. So we'll find out how he would bet it as of today. And Paulie, our first installment here of the season, looking at the best and worst teams in the NFL and college football against the spread. And with totals and in the NFL, 2 teams are 3-0 ATS, the Colts and the Chargers. And the Colts are covering on average by 13.7 points per game. 2 blowouts certainly helps. But that's what they did in week 1 and also last weekend against Tennessee. Seattle is 2-1. The Bills, Eagles, Niners, Buccaneers, Cardinals, and the Lions. And Seattle is covering on average by 13.2 points per game. Again, 2 blowouts now. Killed Pittsburgh on the road. And what they did to the Saints last week. Your worst teams in the NFL. ATS. The Broncos are 0-3. How about that? As are the Texans and the Saints. Are the Saints going to be the Titans from last year?
Could be, yes. I think that's in play. And I'll tell you, that is tough if you want to, what you want to do with the Texans coming up at home against the Titans.
How popular are they going to be in Survivor?
I don't know. Good question. They can't score. The O-line's terrible.
Mm-hmm. All right, 1 and 2 teams, ATS, Bengals, Steelers, Falcons, Ravens, and the Bears. With totals Look at Baltimore. They are 3-0 to the over now, and they are going over by 18.5 points per game. Awesome, elite offense and terrible defense so far.
Yep.
A bunch of teams 2-1 to the over. Saints, Bengals, Steelers, Bears, Dolphins, Titans, Bills, as are the Jets.
Yep.
The Jets and the Lions so far are going over on average by 11 points per game. The Bears and the Colts are going over on average by more than 9 points per game in their contests.
Yeah, and something to go back on at the top of the show with Monday Night Football. I know it's the Lions and Josh Allen that just had no problems going against you so far, and you couldn't stop anything. But you're going to face quarterbacks like this in January.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see. They got to fix this. I know guys were out, but if you can't get stops right now, what that looks like, you're not going anywhere in January.
Your best under teams so far, I'll pinpoint 3 teams here. The Texans, the Falcons, and the Packers are all 3-0 to the under. Houston games so far staying under by 13.2 points per game. Atlanta by 11.7, and the Packers are staying under by 9.7 points per game on average. Houston and Tennessee this week, that total is, 39.5? Did you bet the under in that game yet?
No, I should have, yeah.
They've allowed 51 points. They're 0-3, and they've scored 40 so far in the year.
Yeah.
It's a perfect recipe. Stroud is broken. The offense has, it's a non-zero chance, but, the explosive play rate is, not non-existent for the most part, and the defense is just fantastic. And they can't run the football.
Yep, right.
Okay. I think that's in the NFL, yeah? Mm-hmm. We move to college football now and look at the best teams in college football against the spread. A ton of contenders here. A lot of teams are undefeated. Memphis, Miss State, Vandy, La Tech, Utah State are all 4-0. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Arizona, BYU, and Florida, 3-0 ATS. And
no, Florida.
Yeah, Florida. That can't be
wrong.
updated.
That's
no, that's
wrong.
Yeah, okay. You're right. And I'll tell you, here are the numbers that you need to know with how much they're covering by. Vandy 4-0 covering by 20 points per game. La Tech covering by 15.4 points per game. Utah State by 15 points per game.
Maybe that was supposed to be South Florida. Is that they've covered every game? I think they've
they got blasted by Miami.
Oh, you're right. My fault.
They're 3-1 covering on average by 11.4 points per game. FSU was listed at 3-0. Maybe it was Florida State.
Okay.
3-0 covering on average by 22.7 points per game.
Got it.
How about that guy? How about Castellanos for Heisman after the Mateer news?
Yeah. Big game against Miami coming up.
And if you're just tuning in, John Mateer is going to miss, 3 to 4 weeks, thumb injury? So, yeah, if FSU wins that game, guys putting up rock solid numbers, man.
Yeah.
The worst teams in college football, ATS. Well, again, it's early here, so you're going to have a lot of teams who are undefeated. But with the...
I didn't think it'd be this many, though. And there's some big names.
0-4, you have SMU, Clemson, K-State, Liberty, Vatech, and Oregon State. Clemson is missing the cover on average by 17 points per game.
Penn State's 0-3 ATS?
By the way.
I love to run the score up and cover for the boosters?
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are the 2 teams I was talking about before the break. So both teams, title contention, right? 0-3 ATS, Penn State missing the cover on average by 5.7 points per game, and Georgia's missing the cover on average by 8.2 points per game so far.
I think Penn State might regret not playing anybody before this Oregon game.
I don't disagree.
I think that was a bad scheduling job. You're getting tested, and you can say all you want about the environment Saturday night, but you got a big step up in competition.
By the way, can we end this now? As more teams are going to 9 games in conference, and they're going to add a 10th game against, can we end the teams playing cupcakes in a non-conference?
Yeah.
That has to come to a complete end. You got to schedule at least somebody good from another Power 4 in the non-con. One final nugget here. UCLA 0-3 ATS. They are missing the cover on average by 25 points per game.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma State's 0-3 fired Mike Gundy today. Yeah. They're missing by 20 points per game.
But at UCLA, you're laying 15 and lost by 30, whatever it was.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
And, okay, so some over-under stuff in college football as well, just to for the record kind of stuff. Tennessee's 4-0 to the over, going over by 24 points per week.
Imagine Aguilar Heisman if they would have beat Georgia.
I would agree. He's still like 14-1 today.
Yeah, he's been great. Best thing that happened to that program. Nico pulled that nonsense.
Agreed. Duke, Rutgers, Georgia Southern, Missouri, Virginia, all 4-0. Bama's 3-0. Texas A&M also 3-0. And then the best teams to the under on the year. I want to get the exact numbers here. Florida is 4-0 to the under. And they're staying under by 15 points per game. West Virginia, Oklahoma also 4-0 to the under. Oklahoma staying under by 10.3 points per game. West Virginia by 10.9 points per game.
Excellent. Good stuff.
We'll do that every week.
Final dance in Major League Baseball. The number one team, ROI, the Milwaukee Brewers, up 21 units this year. Miami Marlins, up almost 20 units. 4 games under 500.
Ah, wow. Okay.
What a story.
All right.
The Jays up 16 units.
Have to be.
The Guardians up 14 units. And the Astros up 6 units. Checking in at number 5.
I would not have guessed that with Houston.
I was surprised by that. At the bottom, no surprise. Rockies down 35 units, 114 losses. The Minnesota Twins down 27 units on the season. Atlanta has won 9 in a row. Still down 24 units on the season.
Sure.
24 units.
I mean, for a long time, their power rating this year, even with all the injuries and the terrible record, they were
Big
still
favorites,
huge favorites.
Yep. They are 74 and 83, even with the 9-game winning streak.
Oh.
The Mets down 15 units. And how about this? The 5th worst team ROI. 20 games over 500. The Dodgers down 13 units on the season.
Well, their win total was 103.5.
Yep. The number one over pitcher in baseball was Kikuchi, 22 and 11 to the over. DeGrom, 18 and 11. Sonny Gray, 18 and 12. The most profitable pitcher, Priester, up 966. They've won his last 19 appearances and I think 16 starts. Trevor Rogers, up 948. What a year this guy's had.
I'm going to make a comment. I'm going to file this away. In a couple of months, I will make a comment about Trevor Rogers on the show. I can't make it right now for betting reasons, but file that one away, Paulie.
Robbie Ray up 930. Jason Junk up 891. And Giolito, who goes tonight, 5th most profitable pitcher this year in baseball, up 8 units and change. And they need him to get a win in Toronto.
You want him? The betting market likes Boston today.
Yeah.
In the game?
I'm going to take the Jays.
Are you? Gossman can deliver.
You got the Yankees on there, but you know the Yankees are going to sweep the White Sox. So Toronto can't mess around here.
White Sox been feisty, though, this month. A little bit more than that. How tight are some of these teams, by the way? Like, how tight is Toronto in this series? How tight is Detroit?
I think they can be loose. Detroit's going to be tight. Toronto can be loose.
They're going to be tighter than bark on a tree.
Toronto's in the playoffs.
That was
Detroit can miss it. And they know it's, oh my God, we're going to choke. What happened? Why? We were 11 up 2 weeks ago. What gives?
My dad had a lot of great sayings. That was one of them when he wanted to make fun of somebody about how cheap they were. You are tighter than bark on a tree.
I like 2 coats of paint. No?
The bark on the trees. Well, I grew up with that. I heard it over and over and over and again. And so it was a good one to me, yeah.
Wild season.
He's the my dad's the one with the Oh My Aching Ass.
Oh My Aching Ass. Yeah, I loved them. Yeah, gives you the keys. Too much traffic out here in Vegas.
Well, yeah. Professional sports bettor Paul Stone on the program coming up next. Some best bets in college football and how would he bet the Ryder Cup today with the updated numbers. We'll ask him next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Good to have you on board here on a Tuesday. We're live in Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. We'll get some best bets with analysis now with professional sports bettor Paul Stone. He joins us on the Progressive guest line. Also, his thoughts on the current numbers on the Ryder Cup. I know he's been betting this a lot here leading up to the event. Good afternoon, Paul. Thanks for the time today. Let's start here. A couple of weeks ago, Miss State, fortunate to get the win outright against Arizona State, but they were live the entire time against the Sun Devils in that game at home. Maybe a spot you're going to want to be on here with this team throughout the entire year. They're catching a Tennessee team coming off of 2 weeks here now. Gave away the game against Georgia and then played UAB, who, I mean, my God, their defense is high school bad. Miss State's catching 7.5 or 8 at home in this game today. Do you like the dog in this spot?
I do. First of all, Tennessee opened their season with a 45-26 victory over Syracuse in a neutral site game played there in Atlanta. So Saturday's SEC matchup in Starkville against Mississippi State represents the Volunteers' first true road game of the season. I'm sure the cowbell's going to be clanging in full force to welcome the 15th ranked visitors to Davis-Wade Stadium. Undefeated Mississippi State, 4-0. As you mentioned, they've already upset one top 15 opponent, knocking off defending Big 12 champion and then 13th ranked Arizona State by a 24-20 final as a 6.5-point home underdog back in week 2. And I tell you, Mississippi State's got their quarterback back. Blake Shapen last year missed most of the season due to a shoulder injury, but he's back and healthy for the Bulldogs. He's a veteran guy, has 31 career starts. This season, he's completed 67 of 100 passes for 884 yards, an average, obviously, of 8.8 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns against just 2 interceptions. And a big part of my handicap here is I believe he's going to be effective against a Tennessee secondary that will once again be missing its starting cornerbacks, Jermod McCoy. He's a guy who got hurt working out in January near his home in Tyler, Texas. And then their other cornerback, Ricky Gibson. He's out for the year with an injury as well. Those are 2 veteran guys. They have struggled against the pass in their 3 games against FBS opponents this year, Tennessee, and they're good passing teams. I want to put that out front. Syracuse, Georgia, and UAB all throw the ball a lot. They're pretty effective through the air, but Tennessee's allowed 316.3 yards per game passing in those 3 games. They've allowed 69% completion rate, 7.7 yards per attempt. So I think Mississippi State's going to be able to throw the ball on them. Difficult to win on the road in the SEC. This will be the first SEC road start for Joey Aguilar. I like Mississippi State plus the 7.5, and certainly find that 8 if you can.
All right, I'm interested in this breakdown here because you love this game. Hawaii takes on Air Force. The total's 53. Last week, Boise beat Air Force 49-37. There was a combined 1,000 yards in the game. Tell me what happens here.
Yeah, Air Force, they played 3 games this year. They played FCS Bucknell to start the season. Then they played their last 2 games against Mountain West competition, Utah State and Boise State. In each of those 3 games, the winning team has scored 49 points. And in those games, Air Force and its opponent have combined to average a total of 75.7 points in those 3 games. In a nutshell, Air Force got a really good offense. They scored a total in their 2 Mountain West games against Utah State and Air Force. They scored a total of 67 points, 957 yards, 959 yards actually. Moved the ball very well. They've got an exciting offense. I think they found their quarterback. But as good as that offense is, their defense is worse. Their defense might be the worst, probably is the worst in the Mountain West, one of the worst, in my opinion, in the entire 136-team FBS structure. As we've already said, Boise State and Utah State both hung 49 points on Air Force. They combined for a total of 1,065 yards against the Falcons, averaged 9.3 yards per play. Jeez. And the Falcons, Air Force, they are equal opportunity defenders. They cannot defend the run, but they can't defend the pass either. They are bad at both. They gave up an average of 7.5 yards per carry combined in those 2 Mountain West losses. Gave up 12.2 yards per pass attempt in those 2 games. To be fair, their defense, they probably weren't going to be very good to begin with, but they have been decimated by injuries and defections. They started 3 sophomores and a true freshman on defense last week in the loss to Boise. If you know Service Academy football, that's not the recipe for winning Service Academy football. They also had 2 guys in the offseason that were probably going to be 2 of their better defensive players, nickelback Lincoln Tootie Mariner and linebacker David Santiago, transfer to Southern Utah and Michigan State, respectively. Hawaii, they come in, they pass 63% of their offensive plays. And if you watch them play, they don't go vertical. They are dink and dunk, a lot of short passes, only average 5.3 yards per attempt this season. But they're going to get the ball in space, and they're going to average more than 5.3 yards per attempt against this Air Force defense. I think both teams are going to score at least 27, 28 points. I like Hawaii and Air Force over the total currently of 53.5.
Very good breakdown. Paul Stone, our guest. He is on the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on X. He's at Paul Stone Sports. We just ran down before you popped on the best and worst teams in college football ATS and with totals. Louisville's on the list for one of the worst teams in college football against the spread, Paul. They're 0-3. They're not going to they're not missing the cover by a zillion points or anything like that. It's 3 points on average per game. But here they are laying 4.5 on the road against Pittsburgh. Do you like the dog?
I do. I actually made Louisville a 2.5-point favorite here, so that 4.5 is pretty appetizing. There's several situational aspects, Mitch, that I like in this matchup that appeal to my handicapping taste. First of all, Pittsburgh's off a defeat. They fell to West Virginia 31-24 in overtime 2 weeks ago in Morgantown in the backyard brawl. So they're off a defeat. I like that component. Secondly, they're off an early season bye. They've had the opportunity to do some early season teaching to reset and as well to let that loss stew a little bit. I like that aspect of it as well. And then thirdly, they are getting points at home. And I love backing home underdogs, especially in conference play, and especially when they lost to the same team 10 months ago by 4 touchdowns. So I like all those elements. Pitt enters this game 2-1. Louisville comes in undefeated at 3-0. Their victories have come, though, against a trio of non-Power 4 opponents, those being FCS, Eastern Kentucky, James Madison, and Bowling Green. They did against James Madison actually trail that game 14-6 midway through the third quarter before rallying for a 28-14 victory. Louisville, they have not been good in recent seasons as a road favorite, so their inability to produce in this role is appealing as well. They are 1-7 against the spread as a road favorite since the start of 2022. They have a new quarterback, Miller Moss, the Southern Cal transfer. And Moss last year in 4 road starts, he threw a total of 7 interceptions. And USC threw the ball a lot, to be fair, but in those 4 starts, 7 interceptions, 4 starts on the road, 7 interceptions, those games against Michigan, Minnesota, Maryland, and Washington. I give, Pitt the advantage at quarterback with Eli Holstein. Also, Louisville has some injury situations. One of their top linebackers, Stanquan Clark, a returning starter. He's out for the year, so he obviously won't play. Their top 2 running backs, Isaac Brown and Duke Watson, both banged up. I think they'll both play, but I think they'll be at less than 100%. Pitt, 10-5 as a home underdog since 2018. Also 23-19 off a straight-up loss since 2017. Doesn't sound too impressive, but that's 55%. I like Pitt plus 4.5. over Louisville.
All right, very good. In about 90 seconds here, I know that you've been fired up for the Ryder Cup, played on American soil this weekend for a long time. Hell, you made a visit to Las Vegas months ago in the summertime just to bet it because you got the best number out here. So what number were you betting on USA here? And at the current price, would you do anything with it? They're around $1.50 or higher to lift the trophy. And in the 3-way, they're $1.55, maybe even a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, I tell you, if this, my wife wants a new car and she won't be getting one till about 2045 if USA doesn't win here. But, there's not it's not really a sophisticated handicap. I was talking to a buddy this morning and we were talking about what's the top home field advantage in all of sports. And I think it might be the home country hosting the Ryder Cup. I mean, these are raucous fans. Extremely partisan, to put it mildly. The home country has won 8 of the last 9 Ryder Cups. So nothing too sophisticated. I just like the home country. I did look, this kind of concerned me. I saw the alcohol prices there at Bethpage Black this weekend. A Michelob Ultra 25 ounce is $18. A Bud Light 16 ounce, not that Matt Humans would be interested in a Bud Light, but that's $15. I just hope this doesn't affect their ability to get in the proper frame of mind to, give the Europeans a little business. So I like USA even at -150, -155. I've got a number of bets on USA to raise the trophy on Sunday. So go USA.
There you go. Let's hope they get it done, Paul. Thanks for the great analysis. As always, buddy, we appreciate it. Good luck this week.
Hey, same to you guys. Have a great weekend.
There you go. He joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. We'll dive into Mitch and Paulie's Pizzeria, talk about some long shot bets next here on VSiN.